वैसे तो मैंने वीडियोस बनानी थी कवरिंग द फिफ्थ टेस्ट बिटवीन इंडिया एंड इंग्लैंड, मगर वो हो गया कैंसिल और पोटेंशियली अबैंडन्ड, पोस्टपोन्ड, फॉरफिटेड, वी वोंट फाइंड आउट सो सून, और वो कंट्रोवर्सी तो थोड़ी देर चलती रहेगी। तो मैंने सोचा व्हाई नॉट मेक यूज ऑफ दिस टाइम एंड मेक अ वीडियो rating all of the top 10 T20 squads which have been announced for this T20 World Cup. So let's get right into that on this volume of CRIQAZI Diaries.
Have a look at that, miles up, oh, it's nearly taken someone out in the stands. That was a flat six right under the stand there, the George Giffen stand, up into the members, and it went like a rocket. Well, we get to 24.
Acha, so before I actually jump into each individual squad, I just wanted to share with you the grading criteria or methodology that I have applied over here, and that is based on two things. The first being how good a job has the selector done based on the resources available, and the second obviously being the overall quality of the squad itself. स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं पाकिस्तान की स्क्वाड से, which is arguably the most controversial squad that has been selected for this World T20. I think Mohammad Wasim did a pathetic job selecting the squad for a lack of a better word. और मतलब वैसे तो मैं बहुत गहरी डिटेल में गया हूँ इसके अंदर, along with all of the turmoil that's going on in Pakistan cricket currently with the coach resignations and everything, and I have spoken about all of that at length in volume 41 with a guest, so do check that out. I'll leave a link in the description below. But long story short, पहले जो आप थे, आप चार ओपनर सेलेक्ट करे थे एक ही स्क्वाड के अंदर, और एकदम आपने सिर्फ 2 ओपनर सेलेक्ट कर लिए हैं। अब अगर बाबर और रिजवान में से एक इंजर हो जाता है, यू डोंट हैव अ बैकअप ओपनर, एंड आई थिंक फखर जमान रियली शुड हैव बीन देयर। फिर जो है हारिस रऊफ और हसनैन दोनों आपने सेलेक्ट कर दिए हैं। इट्स यूएई वर्ल्ड कप, द बॉल इज बाउंड टू टर्न, यू डोंट नीड दैट मेनी फास्ट बॉलर्स इन योर टीम, और मेरे हिसाब से हारिस और हसनैन में से एक ही सिर्फ सेलेक्ट होता था। एंड देन फाइनली आजम खान ओवर सरफराज, आई डोंट गेट इट। आई मीन आजम इज टैलेंटेड बट ही इज वेरी न्यू टू द सीन, अभी तो उसने बहुत ज्यादा क्रिकेट खेली नहीं है, regardless of formats, he's still very fresh. तो आप उसका भी करियर हर्ट कर रहे हो प्रीमेच्योर सिलेक्शन करके, एंड देन सरफराज रियली शुड हैव बीन देयर, क्योंकि अगर आप उसको खिलाओ भी मत, उसका एक ड्रेसिंग रूम प्रेजेंस ही बहुत है। ही इज अ फॉर्मर चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी विनिंग कैप्टन। और फिर जो है आपने सेलेक्ट कर लिए आसिफ अली एंड खुशदिल शाह, who have been tried and tested. आपके hitters के तौर पे आप उनको करते रहे हो try, and they failed consistently. In 29 games that Asif Ali has played in T20 international cricket, he's only scored 344 runs at a strike rate of 120 odd and an average of 16.38. और फिर आप खुशदिल को देख लो तो ठीक है, थोड़ा कम खेला है, only 9 T20 Is, but he's only scored 130 runs. उसमें भी कुछ नॉट आउट्स हैं जिम्बाब्वे के खिलाफ, which have elevated his average to around 21. तो इन दोनों की जगह मेरे हिसाब से तो बिल्कुल बनती थी ही नहीं। शोएब मलिक की आपको जरूरत थी, यू नीडेड दैट मिडिल ऑर्डर बैट्समैन दैट यू वर लैकिंग। कब से हमारा मसला चल रहा है मिडिल ऑर्डर में, एंड व्हेन यू ट्राइड एवरीवन, ऑल ऑफ दीज यंगस्टर्स, यू रिजॉर्ट टू योर सीनियर्स, और वो इन्हें नहीं किया। चलो आपने मलिक को पूरा साल नहीं खिलाया, मे बी देयर सम अदर डिफरेंसेस दैट यू हैव विद हिम, नहीं खिलाना था भाई ठीक है, तो इफ्तिखार को रख लेते, ही वुड हैव बीन एन बेटर ऑप्शन। एंड देन यू नो, रादर देन सेलेक्टिंग दोस टू फास्ट बॉलर्स हारिस एंड हसनैन, आप उस्मान कादिर को तो रखते स्क्वाड के अंदर। यू सी ऑल ऑफ दीज स्क्वाड्स, इंडिया स्पेशली, दे स्पिन हैवी, एंड यू नीडेड अ बैकअप लेगी, और एटलीस्ट मे बी फील्ड potentially 2 leggies in the same game, take some pressure off शादाब। तो उसकी भी सिलेक्शन मुझे समझ नहीं आई। फिर आपने इतने फिटनेस स्टैंडर्ड सेट किए थे अपने, एक प्रॉपर कल्चर आप लोग इन्फ्यूज करना चाह रहे थे अपने क्रिकेटर्स के अंदर, सो व्हाई सेलेक्ट आजम खान? लेट हिम वर्क ऑन हिज फिटनेस, एंड जब उसका टाइम आएगा तब आप उसको सेलेक्ट करना। खैर कुछ अच्छी चीजें भी हुई हैं आई गेस। वसीम जूनियर और फहीम अशरफ में से एक ही सिलेक्शन बनती थी, बिकॉज देयर बोथ द सेम काइंड ऑफ प्लेयर, एंड यू डोंट नीड 2 different seam bowling all-rounders in the UAE, and Wasim Junior has impressed with the ball, and you know batting में तकरीबन एक जैसे ही हैं वो और फहीम अशरफ, I would say, at least in limited overs cricket, so that's fine. And then selecting both Nawaz and Imad was also a good move, क्योंकि अगर एक नहीं चलता तो आपके पास दूसरे की ऑप्शन होनी चाहिए। But all in all, keeping all of these things in mind, I would give Pakistan a grade of C-, and this is largely due to the selection. जो C- तक पहुंचे भी हैं, वो क्वालिटी जो है स्क्वाड के अंदर थोड़ी बहुत, उसकी वजह से। You of course do have Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Shadab Khan and Hassan Ali. तो ये लोग जो हैं C- तक ले गए, वरना तो as far as selection goes, that was a failure in my eyes. On to India's squad that has been selected for the World T20. You see a squad which pretty much has all bases covered. Of course, they're mostly seasoned players who play the IPL year in year out. और काफी ज़्यादा strong squad है उनका, काफी complete squad है. And one thing that I'd like to point out over here, which is very important, is that they've gone with 5 spinners. And in a World Cup that's happening in the UAE, where the pitches are going to be slow and it's going to turn, it's very important to have that variety and pool of spinners to choose from. But of course, यहाँ पे भी मेरी criticism criticism जरूर है कि India, I cannot believe, did not select Yuzvendra Chahal. In my opinion, Chahal has been the best leg spinner in limited overs cricket after Rashid Khan in recent years. तो उसकी मुझे exclusion as such समझ नहीं आई, and I think that's going to hurt India. और उसके बाद I think Shikhar Dhawan and Shreyas Iyer, both of these players have done really well for India in the past. Iyer was new, but he'd done well. But Shikhar Dhawan, though, I'd say is almost teetering around that legend category for India in limited overs cricket. So I think both of these guys have been really hard done by. But then when you see the players who have been selected instead of them, Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan, they are just as good and they're very potent T20 players. तो वहाँ पे चलो ठीक है, but Chahal's exclusion is a big red flag for me, and I think that could really hurt India क्योंकि Chahal के पास experience था, he's done it before, and that could have really come in handy in a UAE World Cup. And Rahul Chahar जो दूसरा frontline leg spinner वो लेकर गए हैं इसकी जगह, he's really good, but he lacks that big match mentality. वो खेला नहीं है ज़्यादा international cricket, so क्या पता वक्त आने पे वो pressure खा जाए, हो सकता है, it's possible. But overall India still has a very, very good squad, and I would give it a B plus because they do have all bases covered, and it is a World Cup in Asian conditions, so they're definitely favorites. But क्योंकि Chahal exclude हो गया squad से, that's why they didn't get an A, and I settled for a B plus. Coming to the defending champions, the West Indies, मतलब ये होता है squad, देख के मजा आया आपको. It's such a good mix of youth and experience, and even though a lot of people argue that T20 is a young man sport, I personally disagree. I think experience is just as important, and it comes in really, really handy, and West Indies seem to be a team that recognize that. So the selectors get full marks over here. I mean, look at the experience in this squad. You've got Chris Gayle, TJ Bravo, Kieran Pollard, Lendl Simmons, even Andre Russell is a veteran by now, Andre Fletcher, and then you've got such a good mix of youth with Shimron Hetmeyer, Nicholas Pooran, Hayden Walsh Jr. तो overall मुझे तो squad ये बहुत पसंद आया है, मगर हाँ quality wise अगर ये कहीं lack करते हैं तो fast bowling में करते हैं. I mean, the fact that they've had to select Ravi Rampal is a testament to that very statement. और Obid McCoy does have talent, but मेरे ख्याल से थोड़े हल्के हैं ये fast bowling department में. DJ Bravo पे काफी rely करेंगे, but Hayden Walsh Jr. Is a very, very attractive young leg spinner. I think he's going to do well. खैर, all in all, I'm going to go with an A minus for the West Indies, और A plus सिर्फ वो इसलिए नहीं है क्योंकि fast bowling जो इनकी ranks हैं थोड़े weak लग रहे हैं, but I think that they're definitely favorites to win this tournament. I'd put them right at the top on the favorites list. पाकिस्तान के अलावा अगर मुझे कोई ऐसा स्क्वाड नजर आया ना जो मेरी नजर में बहुत कंट्रोवर्शियल है, दैट इज साउथ अफ्रीका स्क्वाड. द प्रोटियाज, दे जस्ट हैवंट बीन द सेम टीम इन क्रिकेट क्रॉस फॉर्मेट्स फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम नाउ. काफी साल हो गए हैं अब, एंड एवर सिंस AB de Villiers retired, हाशिम आमला, डेल स्टेन, they weren't in their prime, and then they also eventually retired. वो क्वालिटी नहीं नजर आई आपको because they were a champion team, even though they didn't really win any limited overs trophy, but they were always a team to be reckoned with, and they were always amongst the favorites in coming into a tournament, and it's not the same this time. And I think that's largely also due to the exclusion of Faf du Plessis and Imran Tahir. I mean, Faf du Plessis मैं मान सकता हूँ ज़्यादातर injured रहा इस साल, but then he came back with a bang in the CPL. He hit 100 in familiar conditions, similar conditions to the UAE. तो उसकी exclusion मुझे बिल्कुल समझ नहीं आई. How can you leave a player with that much experience and class out of your squad? And then Imran Tahir, one of the most sought after leg spinners in world cricket, in franchise cricket. अभी तक वो इतना अच्छा perform कर रहा है franchise cricket में. He had made himself available for South Africa in T20 internationals. तो उसको ना सिलेक्ट कर मेरे ख्याल से इन्होंने बहुत ज्यादा प्रेशर डाल दिया तब्रेज शम्सी एंड केशव महाराज पे. महाराज टेस्ट स्पिनर तो अच्छा है, बट लिमिटेड ओवर्स में हमने उसको वो चीज करते हुए नहीं देखा. एंड तब्रेज शम्सी, आई अग्री दैट ही इज द नंबर 1 T20 bowler in today's world, but बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर हो जाएगा उसके ऊपर to just perform alone and carry this team. So I think that will hurt South Africa. मेरी तरफ से उनको करना चाहिए था इमरान ताहिर को select, और even George Linda, the left arm off spinner, he was new but he looked really good. मुझे वो नवाज इमाद टाइप फीलर आता था उसके अंदर, और उसकी बैटिंग भी बुरी नहीं थी, तो मेरे ख्याल से उसको भी सिलेक्ट ना कर इन्होंने गलती की है. एंड ठीक है, आपके हैं कुछ वर्ल्ड क्लास प्लेयर्स उस टीम में. You've got Quinton de Kock, you've got David Miller, and then in the bowlers you've got Anrik Nokia and Kagiso Rabada, and Lungi Ngidi is also decent, but fast bowlers तो आपको ये वर्ल्ड कप नहीं जिताएंगे. So I think South Africa, their squad is not looking too good. I'm going to go and give them a D plus because I don't think there's a lot of quality over here, and I don't see them going very, very deep into this World Cup. In fact, I'd say a group stage exit is very much on the cards over here for the Proteas. बात करें अगर आजकल के लिमिटेड ओवर्स किंग्स की, इंग्लैंड who did make the final last time around in 2016 and were only denied their second World T20 title by Carlos Brathwaite, remember the name. 4 balls, 4 sixes against Ben Stokes, and that took it away from England. But once again, you look at this English squad and the fact that it's already lacking Ben Stokes, who is of course not being selected right now because of personal reasons and mental health issues. तो उसको तो साइड पे रख भी दो, तो फिर भी इतना strong squad है. You look at the hitters in this squad: Owen Morgan, Joss Butler, Jason Roy, Ian Liam Livingston, who's made a bit of a reputation recently of being an extremely prolific six hitter. इतनी ज्यादा इनके पास options है ना hitters की, जो आते सारी छक्के मारने शुरू हो जाते हैं. And then you have David Milan, who's the number 1 batsman in T20 cricket these days. तो बहुत ज्यादा इनके पास options है, but I do think that they're lacking in certain areas. एक तो इनने सिर्फ 2 spinners select किए हैं, मोइन अली and आदिल रशीद, and I think that might hurt them क्योंकि मोइन और आदिल पिट भी जाते होते हैं. फिर you had the option of Matt Parkinson, who was so impressive against Pakistan earlier, and when we saw England field 2 leg spinners in the same game, Adil Rashid and Matt Parkinson, you'd felt that यही template लेकर चलेंगे World T20 में, but they didn't do that, and I think that is a bit of a howler in selection. ये थोड़ी गलती कर गए हैं ये लोग. And then Ben Stokes का ना होना, of course, that obviously brings the quality a bit down. But Joe Root's exclusion, I think, is a bit suspect over here, क्योंकि ठीक है Root काफी देर से T20 cricket नहीं खेला, but again you look at the form that this guy is in. No one is in better form in world cricket right now than Joe Root, and it's not like that he can't improvise. You've seen him improvise even in test cricket, or he's a fantastic player of spin. वो आपके काम आ सकता था UAE conditions के अंदर, rotator of strike, and just the class that Joe Root brings to the table. I think that they're missing out having not selected him. Sam Billings की जगह रख सकते थे उसको, तो मेरे ख्याल से यहाँ थोड़ी गलती कर गए हैं, क्योंकि Joe Root is definitely an all format player. तो इन दोनों exclusions की वजह से, Matt Parkinson and Joe Root, just because of those I would give England a B+, but definitely they look like an extremely strong and powerful unit, and I would back them to make it to the semi-finals at least. On to one of the most likable teams in world cricket and the current champions of the World Test Championship, New Zealand. And when you look at this Kiwi squad, it's an extremely formidable unit, and New Zealand always have a reputation of punching above their weight regardless, and this is actually a top quality squad, so you can expect them to actually go deep in this tournament. मेरे ख्याल से पाकिस्तान और न्यूजीलैंड के दरमियान टॉस अप होएगा who goes to the semis along with India, and they've got a lot of experience in there, and Martin Guptill, who is one of the best hitters, openers in world cricket, and then you've got Kane Williamson, who is also leading the side, of course, and Kane Williamson opens in T20 cricket and is one of the best players of spin the world over. फिर जहाँ तक spinners की बात है तो Ish Sodhi and Mitchell Santner, they're top drawer in my opinion, and they've done it before in Asian conditions, so I would back them to be successful. And then of course you have Todd Astle backing them up, तो ऐसा नहीं है कोई reserve spinner नहीं है उनके पास. And then you've got some hitters in that side, and James Neesham and Devon Conway, he's been so impressive recently. What a start he's had to international cricket. तो काफी ज़्यादा strong लग रहे हैं ये. I think out of all of the non-Asian teams, New Zealand plays spin best. अभी तो Tom Latham भी आ सकता था टीम में, वो भी नहीं आया. Ross Taylor, surprising exclusion over there, but I guess they just didn't need him with all of that firepower in Tim Seifert as well, or Devon Conway as mentioned before. तो काफी अच्छी टीम है इन लोगों की. And then Trent Bolt, Tim Southee, top drawer team, one of the most likable teams, and definitely in these past few years, New Zealand have shown the world that they should be considered amongst the best teams in the world, and that is why I'm going to give them an A-. वो भी सिर्फ इसलिए कि I think Ross Taylor का बनता था. Maybe they're resting him because he wants to focus on test cricket. ODI squad में भी select नहीं हुआ हुआ. But Ross Taylor's experience, and he's also a really good player of spin, and then the way he hits the ball, he can really hit a long ball. So I think Taylor ही कमी महसूस होएगी, which is why A-, but overall fantastic squad, and I expect them to do really well. Let's talk about the Aussies next, and of course all of their big boys are returning for the T20 World Cup. David Warner, Stephen Smith, Glenn Maxwell and Aaron Finch. मगर एक मसला है यहाँ पे, ये पूरा साल तो खेले नहीं ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए. ऑस्ट्रेलिया have been picking a second string team and they haven't done too well with that second string team even in Asian conditions. बांग्लादेश से 4-1 हारे हैं, फिर वेस्ट इंडीज में relatively similar conditions होती हैं, वहाँ पे 4-1 हारे हैं. तो the fact that this team hasn't played a lot together, I think that could work against them, and also they're in the same group as West Indies and England. तो उनसे तो मैं इनको नीचे ही रैंक करता हूँ, even though you've got some top quality players as mentioned earlier, Maxwell, Smith, Warner, Finch, and then Stark, Hazelwood in the bowling. But then, you know, एक और मसला इनके पास कि I don't think that Adam Zampa, Mitchell Swepson and Ashton Agar, these are really top quality spinners, especially, you know, UAE World Cup. Zampa is good, but मुझे नहीं लगता वो बहुत ही कोई amazing है, and I think वहाँ पे ऑस्ट्रेलिया मार खाती है, and the fact that they haven't played as a unit for the longest time. तो इसलिए मुझे लग रहा है कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया शायद यहाँ ग्रुप स्टेज में बाहर हो जाए, but it's still a good squad. I mean, select तो उन्हें बिल्कुल ठीक लोग किए हैं, resources wise तो जो उनके पास थे उन्हें कर लिए select. Quality मेरे ख्याल से थोड़ी नीचे होगी, especially in UAE conditions and the lack of match practice. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with the B minus. And you never know though, Australians, you know, they're hard nailed and बहुत ही हमेशा tough side होती है. They give it everything on the pitch, so maybe they do make the semis, but I honestly don't see it. But yeah, B minus seems fair for Australia. On to the Bangladeshi Tigers, and boy have they been impressive of late. First they beat Australia 4-1 at home, and then New Zealand 3-2 at home as well. And granted that both of those squads, Australia and New Zealand, they weren't full strength, still you must give credit to Bangladesh the way they beat both of those oppositions convincingly. And of course they do have the experience of Mushfiqur Rahim and Shakib Al Hasan. Tamim Iqbal ko miss karenge. That is going to be a big miss, and Tamim of course pulled out himself because he had just gone through surgery. So that's understandable, but of course a player of Tamim's quality will definitely be missed in Bangladesh's ranks. But then they have unearthed a few really good youngsters over here. The talented Afif Hussain, who is a lower order hitter, and then Nasum Ahmed is yet another spinning option for them to partner Mehdi Hassan Miraz. So I think they have a lot of options over here, and they have that winning momentum with them. After Pakistan and India, I would say Bangladesh are the strongest Asian side in this World Cup, and you can expect a surprise or two from them. And agar to Tamim Iqbal available hota, so I would have actually given them a B minus, but since he's not, I would go with a C plus for Bangladesh. I think they're definitely capable of pulling up a surprise, and you never know, you know, they've had some good outings in recent tournaments. Champions Trophy mein they made the semis, and then they had a fairly good World Cup, you know, better than some other teams. South Africa ko hiraya tha kafi convincingly, so you know, you can't write them off, and I think C plus is fair given that Tamim is not there, but they've really done a solid preparation coming into the World Cup. इससे बेहतर preparation कर नहीं सकते थे वो. आ जाते हैं अफगानिस्तान के ऊपर, और मेरे ख्याल से सबसे पहले तो ये बात करनी पड़ेगी कि we don't even know yet whether Afghanistan will be a part of the T20 World Cup or not, because of all of the political turmoil that is going on in the country. And Australia have already cancelled the test match they were due to play Afghanistan in Australia, and they've cited those reasons, you know, that if Afghanistan doesn't let its women play cricket, that they won't play them. तो अभी तो हमें नहीं पता कि सारे नेशंस किस तरह रिएक्ट करते हैं इस पे, बट ऑनेस्टली आई फील लाइक यू शुड लेट देम प्ले. प्लेयर्स की गलती तो नहीं है, उनके पास तो कोई पावर नहीं है ऑफ व्हाट्स गोइंग ऑन politically and religiously in the country, and neither does the Afghanistan cricket board. So the men's team should not be punished for this, and if they are allowed to play, of course I think they'll be one of those surprise package teams. They do have some world class players in them, all of them spinners. Rashid Khan, of course, being one of the best leg spinners, in fact the best leg spinner in contemporary cricket, especially in limited overs. और फिर आपके पास मुजीबुर रहमान है, who's been really successful for Afghanistan and plays franchise cricket all around. And then you've got the experienced Mohammad Nabi as well, who is now going to lead the side since Rashid Khan stepped down as captain. वो शायद थोड़ा उनकी टीम को डिस्टर्ब करेगी चीज, along with the political turmoil, the change in captain might be a bit of a disturbance. But then, you know, batting में थोड़े हल्के हैं, that's their Achilles heel. वहाँ पे वो उनको वो चीज मरवा जाती है. But of course you have the ever so exciting Hazratullah Zazai, who we saw in the PSL playing for Peshawar Zalmi, and boy can that boy hit. When he hits the ball, it stays hit. मुझे तो वो अफगानी क्रिस गेल लगता है. And I really think that he could showcase his talent to all of the world in this T20 World Cup. So he is a surprise element. And then you have a few other batsmen in Najibullah Zadran, who we've seen play well for the Karachi Kings. Phir Asghar Afghan bhi hai, who's done well for Afghanistan in the past. But like overall, the batting is quite weak. It's not up to par. But the positive is that this is the best team that they're ever going with into a world event. इससे बेहतर तो team कभी भी नहीं लेकर गए किसी भी world event में. And for that reason, I'm going to give them a C minus. Another reason why I gave them a C minus and not a C plus is because I was expecting to see Noor Ahmed, the young 16-year-old leg spinner who we saw for Karachi Kings, and he was oh so impressive. तो मेरे ख्याल से उसको भी डाल देते तो ठीक रहता. बाकी फास्ट बॉलिंग भी जरा वीक है. I think C minus इसलिए it's apt because जो resources हैं उसके हिसाब से तो उन्होंने ठीक ही टीम सेलेक्ट कर ली है, but of course quality में लैक करती है अफगानिस्तान काफी, and I would rank them just below Bangladesh. But of course, if they are allowed to play, which I really hope they are, you can expect a surprise or two from this Afghanistan team. Maybe they can even slay one of the big boys. Who knows? The last team that we're going to talk about today is also pretty much the weakest team that we're going to talk about today, and it's that of Sri Lanka's. And you know, barring Wanindu Hasaranga, who I think is a quality leg spinner and can do really well for them, and of course Dinesh Chandimal has made a return. उन दोनों के अलावा तो there aren't any world beaters at all in this team. ऊपर से वैसे ही when you have a dearth of talent in your country, because we haven't seen Sri Lanka be the same team ever since Kumar Sangakkara and Mahela Jayawardene retired. Before that, of course, they were an outstanding team, and their performances in world events reflects that. But after that, काफी ज़्यादा dearth of talent है, और उसके बावजूद आपने Angelo Matthews and Niroshan Dickwella and also Gunnar Thilaka, who I was impressed with in years gone by, तीनों को ही नहीं डाला. तो Sri Lanka seem destined for failure. They are the weakest team from Asia in my opinion, and even it's possible that they don't even make it to the second round of the World T20 because they will have to play the qualifiers first. So things don't look too shiny and bright for the Sri Lankans, and it's one of those teams that I always like to see do well. So I do hope that they can pull a rabbit out of their hat. They always do have mystery spinners, so maybe they can carve their way for Sri Lanka to the next round. But मुश्किल ही लग रहा है. अगले राउंड तक पहुंच भी गए तो I feel like they're going to finish at the bottom of the second group stage. So let's see. Of course, my well wishes with Sri Lanka, but I'm going to give them a D minus, which is the worst rating that I've given any team in this video. But of course, like I said before, it's one of those teams that always has my heart. I want to see Sri Lankan cricket do well. Some of my favorite cricketers have been Sri Lanka, Kumar Sangakkara being right at the top. So let's hope for a surprise. But yeah, they didn't do themselves any favors in their selection. And yeah, D minus, B मेरे ख्याल से मैंने कुछ ज़्यादा ही दे दिया. That's a wrap for volume 42, folks. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell icon in order to be notified about my latest videos. Of course, if there is any rating that you agree or disagree with, let me know in the comments section below. That's all for now, guys. I'll catch you later. Kazi off the mic.
Have a look at that, smiles up, oh, it's nearly taken someone out in the stands. That was a flat six right under the stand there, the George Giffen stand, up into the members, and it went like a rocket.